Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. It is your host, David McCaig Jr. The Game Sports Podcast is powered by 91 Network. Head on over to the 91N YouTube channel and also featured on Spaces. That is powered through Village Media and Soo Today, but we're also able to be tuned in on wherever you get your podcast. But those are the areas where you want to go to get a part of the action, as well as make sure to follow us. Social media, TikTok, Instagram, we're all over to search at the Game Sports Podcasts. Just remember that, the Game Sports Podcast. Now, without further ado, to kick off the show, we are doing Top Shelf, little toe drag, top chat on the backhand, ting tong to the ice, okay? The one, the only, introducing the co-host, joining yours truly, Brendan McCarthy. Brendan, my friend, how's it going?
What's up, my guy? Good to be back with you. I'm going to come out of the gate with a spicy question for you.
Out of the gate.
All right. I know you're a big Bills guy and a big Leafs fan. Well, actually, I don't know for sure if you're a big Bills guy. I'm being presumptuous here.
Steelers fan.
No, what am I saying? Jeez,
Steelers
I blew it. I blew it out of the gate.
That's fine.
I came out hot, blew it.
That's fine. You know what? That's good because I do have a soft spot for the Bills because I feel bad for them. So that's fine. But I am a Steelers fan. But I love
Steelers guy.
I feel bad for the Bills because of last week. So you can say that still.
I'm sure your base, at least, you know. I mean, Eric Werner, for instance, he's a big Bills guy. So
I haven't texted him.
Lots of people. Yeah, sorry. I haven't. I've been kind of approaching it a little bit. You know, trying to ease into it.
Yep.
But I was thinking the last few days, and I wanted to ask you this: which fan base has suffered more, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Maple Leafs, or the Buffalo Bills?
You know what? This may come
all time.
This may come as a surprise answer to people, but I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills. And the reason why I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills is because they haven't won a championship. Toronto hasn't won in over 55 years, but that's a team that has the second most cups in NHL history. And yeah, they haven't really won since they haven't won since they've expanded to more than 6 teams. And yes, there's been a lot of pain. 2013, you can keep backtracking. You can go to 1999 when they lost the Buffalo Sabres. 98, doesn't matter. If 02 when they lost to Carolina in the conference final. 04 when they lost to Philadelphia with the Roenick celebration, dancing down the Air Canada Center from the hash marks to the blue line.
Never forget that.
You got a lot of moments in Toronto sports where it's a lot of, all right, but the Buffalo Bills made the Super Bowl, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 times in a row in the 90s and lost, okay, to a very stacked 90s kind of football teams that were out there, the Niners, the Cowboys, a lot of good teams. But he also had the Bills now who are choking in it doesn't matter if it's divisional, if it's the championship round, they just can't get over that hump. And a big part of that is because of the Mahomes train, or dare I say the ref train as well, but I'm not going to get into that too much. The Buffalo Bills have not been able to win championships ever. They have been absolutely teased by having an MVP caliber season like Josh Allen and these great players come through those teams in the 90s and now, and they're not able to take that leap into the next step. Toronto Maple Leafs have choked. The Toronto Maple Leafs have been very painful. And as a Leaf fan, biggest team that I cheer for, I bleed the blue all over me, okay? But I can tell you, I will cry when the day happens, if it's Matthews or if it's Austin Matthews Jr., the first, second, whoever lifts that cup eventually before I hopefully croak. I will tell you right now, the Buffalo Bills are still a more suffering franchise because of what they've had to go through, and they haven't won once. That is the big thing for me.
Okay. I hear that. You make some really good points. I was thinking about it today on my 6:30 a.m. ride to work.
While listening to that song, right? While listening to that Boston Bruins goal song.
Oh, geez, yeah. couldn't do it this time around. 6:30 a.m. pre-coffee. I guess somehow my juices were flowing, and I was like, I gotta ask that to Davey later. I would say the Maple Leafs because I feel like if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you at least have been treated to deep runs. And the ending has been really tough. But if you're a Leafs fan, it's actually just comical at this point because while you can get your hopes up and you say this year is going to be different, it's a choke job every damn year. It's a choke job. And, you know, the last few years, Kansas City has been on Buffalo. And eventually,
Unfortunate.
it's kind of like Pitt and Washington in the NHL, right?
Great example.
Eventually, Ovi and the Caps were able to get over that hump. And Allen is a tremendous talent. He's going to be able to get the Bills over that hump. Mahomes and the Chiefs are like basically the Monstars from Space Jam. So at least they've been in the big dance, not the Super Bowl, but on the AFC level, right? Like they've been there. They're not. I don't consider them like a joke or a laughing stock. And for the Leafs, it's like you kind of know how this movie ends. And other than the 2002 conference final run against the Carolina Hurricanes, each year since they've made the playoffs, it's been a disappointment. Like the 2023 year, like they got walked by the Panthers. Great, they won a round against Tampa, but like the second round was a disaster. So, and they've also just had a history of blowing leads and having major meltdowns. So I guess I would counter yours just by saying at least the Bills have treated the fans to entertaining and deep runs, while for the Leafs, it's almost always a heartbreak and always early of an exit, right?
Love that. Good points. Okay. And you know what? Buffalo Bills fans are just across the way from Toronto. It's literally an hour and a skip from Toronto over the bridge, right? And, there's a lot of Toronto people that are Buffalo fans and people that we know that are Buffalo fans. I could tell you right now, being in the city of Buffalo overall, though, they've been treated to a lot of pain. If it comes from the Sabres, if it comes from the Bills, the Sabres lost in the Cup Finals, right, to the Stars on a goal that should have probably been called back. If you look back to the previous rules with the crease rule. So that hurts me a lot, that feeling bad from that the city of Buffalo has never seen a championship, where the city of Toronto, and I know that's not the question. We talk about Bills and Leafs Central, but now if I'm looking at a city perspective, Toronto's had more success. Most recently, the Raptors, 2019, right? They were treated to a championship parade, and it's the Argonauts, if you want to consider the CFL, it's not the same as the NFL in any which way, but the Argos have been a successful franchise. I think the city of Buffalo just hasn't had that taste of winning. And the Sabres and Bills are two different cookies in a complete different jar. But I feel bad for Buffalo in its entirety because this Bills loss, I thought this was the year that they were going to beat the Chiefs. I truly did. I thought this was the Lions' year overall that was going to win the Super Bowl. But once the Lions got eliminated in shit fashion by the Commanders, by the way, I thought this is Josh Allen's time, right? And Patrick Mahomes said, no. A lot of BS calls, though. I am sorry. I've never said that all year about the Chiefs. So I will say that game had a lot of missed calls. And it, of course, is highlighted to Kansas City because of Mahomes and Kelsey because they're in the spotlight. Kelsey because of who he is and who he's dating. But also Mahomes because of who he is. But overall, Brennan, good points you had. I really think it can go either way. But that depends on who you ask. Is championships and pedigree more important? Or are we assessing overall that the entertainment factor that you had, that they've been close to the dance, that they almost did it? Or is doing it as a legacy, as a franchise, as I hit my mic, more important or more something to discuss? So that's good. That's good interaction for people below. I probably won't upload the full 7-minute clip of this because there's no social media space that has that.
It could go either way.
It could go either way.
It definitely could go either way, like you said. Yeah.
I like that. Now, I think that when it comes to the overall hockey realm, I know we were going to talk, and this is a topic that I know we discussed off air. 4 Nations is just around the corner, right? It's literally 2 weeks away. Next week when we're back, it's going to be me, you, and Parr when Parr's back because he has the week off, slacker. He has
a Purelator side gig. That's why.
That's 100% why. Alex Pietrangelo will not be playing in 4 Nations. And of course, all the Vegas haters out there are saying, well, okay, Pietrangelo, is he going to go back on IR? Is Mark Stone going to go on IR? And then in the trade deadline, they're going to trade for Malkin, Carlson. They're going to trade for all the lads and stack up and try to win, right? I'm not going to go down that realm, but Pietrangelo withdraws some 4 Nations. And next week, we're going to get to a lot of interaction ability with four nations. It's going to be fun because I'm so excited for it. But Pietrangelo withdraws. At this point, we're still thinking about what the next steps are going to be for Canada. We don't know. I'm sure we'll have more next week. But what do you think this affects, Brendan, from a Pietrangelo standpoint and Team Canada in its entirety?
Yeah, this was a major mic drop because he's been such an important piece on an international level. Obviously, in the NHL, he's got a cup and he's got a prolific career in the National Hockey League as well, but internationally too, like World Cup of Hockey, Olympics. Like, he is a trusted vet on the back end. He's, one of the top tier defensemen in the NHL, and this is a massive shot, basically, to the NHL and Gary Bettman basically saying, I don't really give a shit, and I'm focusing on Vegas and the playoffs and another run at a cup. And it's kind of disappointing because it's awesome to see like this type of talent.
The best players in the world.
The best players at the international level. Like, we've been robbed of it at the Olympics the last couple of years to see NHL talent. And now my worry, Davey, is this going to kickstart kind of the domino effect? Like, who's next? Right? Because now it's like, hey, he did it. Now, even though if I was thinking about it, maybe I wasn't because I didn't want to be the first one. He said, F it. Exactly. McKinnon, like a Kachuk brother, like someone now that a big dog has done it. And fair enough, but he withdrew. And who's next? And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a handful more. So look out.
I hope not, and I hope the names aren't Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, Matthews, Nylander. Look, and I'm a Leaf fan saying that. I'm scared as a Leaf fan of injury for Matthews and Nylander, sort of, unless they can go on IR and they can open up that cap space for Toronto to cheat at the deadline. Then I'm fine with it as long as they come back by playoffs. I really don't care, right? So I get the Vegas way. So at the end of the day, it's sad to see, but I think there are some replacement opportunities, but it's not going to be Morgan Rielly. I saw some comments with that. Let me tell you right now, Morgan Rielly is not going to be a replacement for Team Canada.
No.
Or get the call. And I'm sure we'll have another name by next week. We don't need to sit here and guess because it'll probably be a dated guess. But I got to shut down the Morgan Rielly chatter. Okay.
And dude, Davey, I keep hearing, and I'm like, I want to rip my hair out. People are like, oh, Drew Doughty. I'm like, he has not played all season. I don't really care about like his history. Yeah, he was an important piece, but he will just be a tree trunk out there. Like when did he get injured in the preseason? And it was a bad injury, right?
It will 100% be, if that's the case, if you're getting him, you got to consider Morgan Rielly before you consider him, right? Because he hasn't played. He has been a trunk, right? He would be a trunk out there. And I'll say, because I said I wasn't going to get into predictions. This guy's a dual citizen, but I'm going to say a name that might pique interest and it might just be conversation. Jacob Chychrun. I'm going to just say that as a little placeholder for someone and people to be like, oh, wait a second, right? Wait a second. Like, he's got the dual. He's originally from the Canada side, playing the O for Sarnia, having a great year in Washington. Just saying, a lot of players that he brought up, that is John Cooper, has been role players. Cirelli, Hagel, Point. Maybe he's going to look at that third pairing defenseman's going to block shots. He can play a two-way game, and he's going to get those minutes near the end of the game that you don't have to put Makar out there for, who's the best defenseman in the world. But just put that out there.
Jacob Chychrun is like arguably the fittest guy in the NHL. Have you heard his like meal plans? It's like liver and like dry spinach. It's like disgusting, but he's shredded. And you could bring up a good point with John Cooper too. I also think maybe Chris Tanev could be an option too, as kind of your third pair shutdown rugged guy.
Yeah.
But we'll see, man. Like I'm more just like, geez, who's next to go, right?
I don't even want to think in it, but it is going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, Brendan, just for sake of time, I know we had one more topic. We will dive into it because we don't have in the pocket this week, so there is a little bit more flexibility in time. But to keep our time respectable, I know you had one more thing you wanted to bring up. We're not going to get into an update. Shoot, and then that'll wrap up Top Shelf this week.
Okay. Have you seen that meme before where it's like which table you sitting at? and it's a bunch of like celebrities or athletes or public figures or
Oh, yes.
whatever,
Yeah, okay.
right?
Yes, okay. Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have 4 tables. You would be the fifth guy joining,
Okay.
and I'm gonna rhyme them off here. Table 1 through 4,
Okay.
and it's a cast of characters. Let's say that. Table
Okay.
1.
Yeah.
So picture you're at the cafeteria with your tray, your sloppy joes. Where are
Ooh.
you gonna sit down? Table 1: Vince Vaughn, Conor McDavid, Conor McGregor, Serena Williams. Okay, that's table 1. Pretty good pack.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, table 2: Bradley Cooper, Austin Matthews, Marie-Philippe Poulin,
Hmm.
or Jesse Eisenberg. Remember that cat in the Social
Uh,
Network?
Lex
Kind of a
Luthor.
lame-o.
Lex
He's kind of lame, but.
Luthor.
Table 3: Sid the Kid, Ellen DeGeneres, Chris Rock, Joe Biden.
Okay.
Table 4: Barack Obama, Bobby McMahon, Nick Kyrgios, Gary Bettman.
Oh, I like those options. I'm actually gonna probably go the one where people thought that I probably wouldn't probably thought I would go. I'm going with table 1. Vince Vaughn, Conor McDavid, Conor McGregor, and Serena Williams. 1, Vince Vaughn. I love Wedding Crashers. Vince Vaughn is absolutely hilarious. He would be eating food with his hands, all the crab cakes. Get my reference. If you know, you know. Conor McDavid.
Crab cakes, they're phenomenal.
The Connor McDavid, the best hockey player in the world. Okay. And McDavid, I'm David McCaig. We can just start a big conversation. Number 3, Conor McGregor. I'd want to try to fight him for fun. Probably lose, or I would lose. Let's get honest here. I would lose. But, I would love to know what's going through that guy's head because he actually seems like he'd be an absolutely cool dude, but on camera, he's all showboat. Would love to see how he is outside of the camera. Serena Williams, arguably the best athlete of all time. Arguably, I don't care what anybody says, the best athlete of all time. I'd love just to get to know her. And you know what? She also has a workout or a workout cameo in the movie Knives Out Glass Onion, if you haven't seen it. And I would love to know what she does for a routine because Serena, that girl in shape, man, let me tell you. That table, so many conversations I can have. That's where my mind's at. And you know what? I would love to see just look at Austin Matthews and just wave at him with his jersey on while I'm at that table sitting beside McDavid.
Honestly, it's a pretty A+ table. It's a good group. I like it. If I were to pick, I like table 1. I think table 3 would have some life. Like Sid the Kid, humble.
Yeah.
Ellen DeGeneres, she'd crack the jokes. Chris Rock, he cracked the jokes. And Joe Biden, I think he'd just, be like happy to be there.
He would be half there, half not.
Yeah.
But he'd probably ride in on his bike. That's 100% what he would do.
Yeah. Table 3 is not bad. I don't mind table 3. Yeah, table 1's pretty top heavy.
Table 2, you take out Eisenberg, makes it a little bit tougher. And table 4, you take out Bettman. Okay, I don't want to. Bettman just looks like I don't want to have drinks and have fun with Bettman.
Each one, I tried to keep one that's kind of like not ideal. Like McGregor's kind of like an odd dude. Obviously, Bettman's not great. Biden's just like like you said, half in, half out. And Eisenberg just sucks. So I had to put like one kind of like, odd one in there.
And I'm the McGregor. You know what I mean?
McGregor would be, but the only thing, Davey, is table 1. McGregor would get annoying, especially after he has some whiskey and shit.
Oh, 100%.
He'd be really fucking annoying.
You know who would be my?
Pardon my French. Sorry.
I'll put him through a table. You know who's gonna help me put him through a table? Serena fucking Williams. Serena Williams. And
Wait, can we swear on this podcast? I didn't even know. I said
we try not to, but you know what?
Okay,
kids, parents, we try not to swear, but we do once in a while because we are passionate.
We've all heard it. Jesus.
We've all heard it. Serena Williams and I will give the Dudley boys 3D through a table. If you know, you know, baby. Okay. References today are on fire. I'm sorry. I'm feeling it with Vince Vaughn. Love it. That got me fired up. We got to do that.
Love it, man. I thought you'd like it.
Love that.
Maybe Parr can join in the future on one of those.
Next week we are doing another one of that. I am going to make sure the table seating, I'm going to call it. You can fix that up for next week. All right,
Love it.
Brendan, love it. Okay, we hit the 20-minute mark for our episode. That's fair enough, and I think it's time that we sail off into the sunset, and I catch an Uber with the lads and Serena to go to the after party, and I'm getting you to come join us. But nonetheless, this is another week of Top Shelf, my friend, and it's been fun.
All right, man. Cheers.
Awesome. That's Brendan McCarthy, all the way in the GTA area. Yours truly, located in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, the heart of the Great Lakes. Here to remind you, of course, no, I'm not doing my exit. I'm going to remind you to make sure you like, follow, and subscribe, and interact with all the content that we bring you. TikTok, Instagram, we're all over. Just at the Game Sports Podcast, you'll find us. Powered by 91 Network and featured on Spaces through Village Media and Soo Today. I'll be right back. When we come back, we got Chuck-a-Puck now. More hockey, but from a local centralized way, and that'll be with Jordan Trudeau. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. It is your host, David McCaig Jr., continuing to host you. And guess what? It's time for my weekly stand, weekly walkover, and the weekly grab of the Chuck-a-Puck. Now, it's not the fake one, so I got to be very cautious, especially now, for a lot of reasons. So I'm just going to drop it on the desk table, okay? The official Soo Greyhounds puck. There it is. Hopefully you heard it. The Chuck-a-Puck has been tossed, and it landed in the middle. I am joined by Jordan Trudeau for our Chuck-a-Puck segment, of course. Trudes, my friend, another week. How you doing?
Good, Dave. How are you? I'm doing great.
Good, man. Feeling great. A lot of energy. Obviously, I'm a loud dude. I'm very social, but I'm just feeling a little extra because I love Chuck-a-Puck, and we know you, especially those in Sault Ste. Marie. Yes, Chuck-a-Puck has a little extra content towards the Soo Greyhounds because that's where the Game Sports Podcast is located. And in particular, they would like to highlight Spaces through Village Media and Soo Today when it comes to our local talent here in Sault Ste. Marie in terms of sports teams, in particular the Soo Greyhounds. We're very excited for a lot of the local content that we're finally going to be bringing back to the Game Sports Podcast on top of the national. So, of course, look, it's wintertime. It definitely is wintertime. The day of this recording, it is ridiculous what's going on outside. A lot of snow. Snowblower, I haven't done it yet. I'm going to have to do it after the recording. I'm sure a lot of you right now listening to the show, you're likely going to listen to it on the 29th or the 30th. You probably don't need to snowblow by then. Hopefully it's all done. But the weather has been nuts. But that means when there's snow on the ground, that is hockey, and we still have Greyhounds to talk about, Trude. So speaking of the Greyhounds, I'm going to lead it off to you to give us the update from last week and the update for the games upcoming this week.
Yeah, so we'll start with the games upcoming this week. So there's Kitchener tomorrow. That's Wednesday. So we're recording on Tuesday, the 28th of January. Kitchener's tomorrow, another tough test, and Brantford on Friday. So they kind of always give me flashbacks from the 2018 OHL Championship.
Yikes.
Whenever that jersey comes into the Gardens, I always get a little
tough year
nightmare there.
That was the year.
Yeah. So Kitchener's third in the Western Conference. Brantford's fifth in the East, but they are 4 points out of first. So, 2 rough games at home, and then they'll travel to Saginaw on Sunday to play Misa and company. I mentioned it last week. There's no easy games left, right? So, I mean, hoping to get at least one out of the 3 games on the weekend. It's going to be tough, though. It'd be tough to go 2-1, but that would be really impressive. And this last weekend, they went 1-1, I guess you'd say. So this is counting the game against Flint on Friday. They beat them, and they lost to London on Sunday. Obviously, London's the number 1 team in the CHL for good reason.
Very good team.
They really proved that on Sunday. They're very dangerous in the offensive zone, quick and crisp through the neutral zone. They even were without Barkey and Cowan, their 2 best players. So they were both day-to-day with injuries, and they still showed their depth. They get on you really quick. Big, strong, veteran, fast. But the Hounds managed to hang with them for the better part of 2 periods.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's positive. I know reading Peter Reach's article, they obviously wanted more, but it's definitely a positive to hang with the number 1 team for 2 periods. The more exciting game against Flint, we had a goalie goal.
Sure did.
The highlight from the weekend, Nolan LaLonde from behind his own net took a shot at the empty net and he executed it perfectly. The crowd went absolutely bananas. Like what a year it's been, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it might not be the most successful Greyhounds season, but like there have been lots of like good memories,
Good
like
moments, right? You look at
and and then we got like we had like a multitude of injuries, like a goalie goal now. It's been a really like up and down crazy season. Just before last weekend, Nolan LaLonde went about 8.5 periods without letting in a goal, dating back to the Peterborough game. So like what a great start for him on his new team.
Yeah.
So like definitely been some great moments this year.
First goalie goal in Greyhound history.
In Greyhound history. Yeah.
In Greyhound history. That deserves the thumbs up that deserves the chuck-a-puck this week. Nolan LaLonde gets the chuck-a-puck this week. Kid has come into the Soo and has won over the fan base. He's definitely done very well in the crease. That goal, unfortunately, I missed the live. I would have loved to see that live. That would have been so flipping cool to see. And what a shot it was, on the money. And the crowd reaction was priceless. It was like, what is happening? Like, everyone's excited. It's excitement on a season that, yeah, you know what? We're not, as a Soo Greyhound fan base, if you're, as I say the word we, if you're a Soo Greyhound fan, you're not going to see the Memorial Cup this year, most likely. Okay. But you know what? You get some playoff time with these kids, despite who they play, 4 and out, 5 and out, whatever it is. This is definitely, there's been highlights this year, Truth. That's a very good point. And that's been highlighted. The LaLonde trade, Schenkel getting moved in that big ovation. Great. That showed a lot in the community to back him up. Gibson, we got to see Gibson be in the World Juniors this year, who was part of our team still before getting traded. We got the Brady bunches now. Okay. There's a lot of fun entertainment this year when it comes in the air at the GFL Memorial Gardens. And I think we're going to see some playoff hockey. Like I said, it's going to be likely quick, but with Nolan LaLonde, he can steal some games in there and make it very interesting and make it a little bit more positive of a run. And it's great to see the work, see that goal, though. I know we're talking that. That was so cool, True. It's so cool.
It was pretty cool. I remember watching him stop the puck behind the net, and I screamed myself, go for it. Yeah, do it, because I think he's going to do it. Like, I remember saying, he's going to do it. And then he did it, and you could see the puck going into the net. Like, that's going in. That was amazing.
So cool. The confidence to do that, too.
He's the 12th goalie in OHL history, I believe. I saw it on the Soo Greyhounds fan club. I think 12th goalie in OHL history to do it. So, like, props to him.
And then Nedeljkovic from Pittsburgh got a goal and assist, right? By the way, Nedeljkovic has a goal and assist. That's more points than Adam Graves. He's a defenseman on Pittsburgh. Okay, he has no points. But listen, okay, when your goalie's got more points than you, it's pretty funny to bring up. But joke is, point is that whole point is that goalie goals are happening. Goalies are trying it. You know, and then when there's an empty net and you're in the stadium and a goalie grabs the puck, everyone's like, oh! Everyone's just like, yes, you are. Shoot that. I don't care. Shoot that.
Yeah, I know. I remember, I think Matt Villalta tried for one his last year, but he never got one. But I think he tried a good 3 or 4 times. I wanted to mention, too, so tough day against London as well. But one player really stood out for me, and that was Justin Cloutier. So I wanted to talk about him a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to slide in a story. I know we're always pressed for time, but so when I went last season, I went to pick up my cousin in Waterloo. He goes to university down there, and I went with my uncle, and we caught the Greyhounds in Kitchener and Guelph, and we ended up sitting beside this old time season ticket holder in Kitchener, and we were talking to him all night, and he said, like, that number 24 on the Greyhounds, that Justin Cloutier is like this whole arena despises him and the way he plays. And like, he just really, but it's actually it's actually a positive thing for Justin, because one of those players that you hate to play against, and that's how he put it. Like, you hate to play against him, but you want him on your team. And like, he had 2 goals against London on Sunday, so the best team in the CHL, and he put out a really good performance. He's always noticeable. Peter Ricci talked about him on Rock 101 the other day. It's like, no matter what type of game he's having, like, he brings the energy, and you notice him out there.
Yeah.
He's about to smash his point total too from last year. So he's only 2 away, and there's from the 40 point total, and there's 28 games left. So like he's awesome to watch. Doesn't shy away from the corners, rough stuff, mind games. He's all over that. And I just want to add this in. Congrats to the Pittsburgh Penguins on their unsigned free agent, Justin Cloutier. Should I add that in, or
Kyle Dubas gets a win on this show because he ain't getting any wins anywhere else right now. Okay, because I had a very interesting point to say, and I have respect for Dubas, but this is something that we've talked about in our top shelf segment. Dubas has been claimed as the boy wonder when he got signed to Toronto. Big hockey mecca of the world, the Maple Leafs are. Obviously, with the Hounds' hometown team, he made some trades, some one trade in particular that people always go back on, and that's Jack Campbell. Okay, so he traded it for him in the NHL too. All right, so the thing is, Dubas has been called boy wonder, and the question that I get is, has he truly proven himself as that boy wonder? And I would love to know people's answers to this in a non-Soo way bias, but I'll say that he's a Soo boy representing the Soo, and very proud of him for being a Soo guy and doing what he's doing, because he's been a GM in the National Hockey League and now higher up in Pittsburgh. He might be the guy who trades Crosby. Who knows? Because there's all that going on. But the thing is, I will say that in Toronto, he had a lot of things that were on that roster. And I think the rebuild phase in Pittsburgh is going to be the opportunity to see this boy wonder at work if he can really, truly build a rebuilding team and lead it to a championship. Okay, so I won't have an answer yet, but yeah, you're right. He hasn't proven himself yet. There hasn't been that success. But for him to be from the Soo, it's cool to see the success that he has in that signing with Cloutier. We've talked about it for a few weeks. Great signing. We know Dubas is going to be signing the Hounds, the people from there. So Pittsburgh, get used to being Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound fans, okay? But you're going to also be fans of Justin Cloutier.
Yeah, I mean, I like to slide that in there, because that's who I picture, Cloutier. He's unsigned right now, but like we just been joking about it for a couple weeks, right? Like,
yeah, Pittsburgh Penguins, dude. That's
he's gonna be a Pittsburgh Penguin.
Yeah, he's gonna be playing online with Brian Rust next year.
Yeah, like
that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but outstanding player, and
now
he still has that Iron Man streak going too. So
that's cool. That's cool. Good point. See, and he's a fan favorite here in the Soo. People love him. That's great to see. Nolan LaLonde might be taking a lot of that spotlight right now, but it's cool to see. It takes a lot. It's a retooling year, but it's been an exciting retooling year for the organization. Now, leading to excitement for retooling. There's a reason why this team is retooling, and we said we're going to devote time to talk about this, so we are. And then we have a funny little idea at the end that we're going to throw as a plug. But in summary, in 2025, the Memorial Cup is in Rimouski. That's this year. 2026, you got Kelowna. So that means in 2027, the Memorial Cup is coming back to the Ontario Hockey League. The last Memorial Cup, it was between Sault Ste. Marie and Saginaw. All right? And Sault Ste. Marie lost out. And the reason why for the loss out was because of roster. Yeah. There was other reasons that have been brought up. One in particular, that's a legal issue that the committee paid witness to, okay, according to, I'm not going to say anything about verifying reports or anything like that, but let's verify reports, okay, like that. Okay, something happened that they witnessed that may or may not have factored in a decision, okay, but that aside, okay, we are a city that is craving that host for the Memorial Cup. There is a newer arena here in Sault Ste. Marie. It's went through a few name changes. Steelback and SR, if you remember. Now it's back to GFL, but Memorial Gardens, thankfully. But this is a team that's looking for a bid, and they have the roster makeup truths of a team that has that retooling time frame of after 2026 going to 2027. That's the year they're going to start looking to compete and really be a competitive team. They brought in a bunch of draft picks. They can draft or they can move those for future assets, whatever the case may be. You got Brady Martin on the centerpiece of that. You got a lot of good core guys that are a part of it. There's more. I'm just naming one right now. There's more players that could be pointed out. But the OHL truths, the bid is for 2027.
Yes.
Leaving the floor for you before I kind of give my little reaction about what I think. I want to leave it to you to say that the Sioux, should they make a bid? Will they make a bid? Do they have a chance at winning the bid? There's the three questions, I guess.
I say yes to all three of those questions. I think that with how aggressive Lukenda and the Greyhounds organization was with last bid, and they were so close, and I don't like. I know that the roster structure was the main reason why the Memorial Cup choosing committee said that they went with Saginaw. Well, the fact of the matter is that turned out to be wrong, and I that's flat out the truth when you look at the roster, how both teams performed pre-deadline, right? Like, I mean, and that wasn't just the Memorial Cup committee. That was a lot of people around the OHL and around the hockey world that didn't think that the Greyhounds had anything last year. Peter Ricci mentioned that on the broadcast too, and he said they were not expected to be as good as they were. It seemed like only Sioux fans knew the strength of the team coming up.
Yep.
So, like, to put that into perspective, so when I say pre-deadline, the Greyhounds were above Saginaw in the standings, and post-deadline, we're talking about a Greyhound team that was tied in Game 7 with the Memorial Cup champ that had only added 3 players to their roster in a deadline where Saginaw added about upwards of 8 or 9. So it was wrong. It was. I'm not saying it wasn't.
There's more to it. There's more to it, and we
saying
know what it
it
is.
wasn't the right call. I'm saying it just turned out to be wrong. So had the Greyhounds had the Memorial Cup last year, I'm assuming they would have made a more aggressive push at the deadline. So anyway, but that just kind of proves those 3 points that you brought up. Should they, will they, and do they have a shot? Should they? Yes. And will they? Yes. Like we mentioned before, they have now, I think, 10 07s. I can't remember the exact number because it keeps going up all the time. 10 07s, that's 10 17-year-olds who will be 19 in that Memorial Cup bidding year. And they've added Brady T. Smith as well as
Brady T. Smith. I love the Brady
as a first round pick. So who's 16 this year, so he'll be 18, and he's a highly touted prospect. So their roster structure, their group of 07s is there now.
Yep.
So that reason is it's going to be a tough thing for the Memorial Cup committee to say, well, your roster's not there, when, like, you look at, okay, Chase Reed, Jordan Sharon, Brady Martin, Travis Hayes, David Hollab.
Oh, yep.
Right, like
the list goes on, right? And the players that you can add from the draft this year, next year, or trade for next year. If not, that's not that you're making a run next year. You're still in a unique phase next year, but you can still, that's where you want to see progression next year to a degree. More mid pack, right? Making some noise, seeing that this core is going to be a favorite going. And I mean, it's a pretty big core. So like a core 1, 2, 3, 4. There's multiple players a part of this, and they're building a case to show that this is a roster that will not be a reason to be an excuse to not be there. But look, I know other cities are going to bid. You wonder if someone like Guelph, London, Guelph will probably be the other one.
It looks like Guelph, like the way they rebuilt this year, right now, that'll be the Greyhounds' primary adversary there, whether or not Guelph's going to plan to bid or not. I mean, the Sleeman Center is not too much bigger as a facility than the GFL.
No,
it's just the location of, obviously, Guelph's in the GTA, so that just gives it a huge advantage in itself.
Yep.
But you do what you can, and I think right now they are doing everything they can to prepare for Memorial Cup bid in 2027.
So what I'll say is, and I've said this a lot, when they built I'm going to tell you a funny story, a very quick. I know time is of the essence, and I know I tend to ramble off in stories, but when I was younger, I ran into Mayor John Roswell, who is a highly respected mayor in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Okay, and kudos to Shoemaker. I am a big Shoemaker fan in Sault Ste. Marie right now. I don't want to talk politics on this podcast, but Shoemaker, yes, thumbs up all around. But John Roswell. There was another person involved who worked closely with the city, but I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he would, if he would appreciate it. I don't like getting permission when I tell stories. But if I looked back at my Hotmail email, so I had an email that was hockey_0002 at hotmail.com. And I remember I was a kid, I gave my email to John Roswell, and I said that the Memorial Gardens, if you remember the ice, the Memorial Gardens, the bench was behind the blue line. So if you changed, that it would cause an offside. It was not structured right, the Memorial Gardens. Old school ice, if you remember the original Gardens. Beautiful. Like, I would love to go back in that rink one more time. It'd be hilarious just to see that. Oh, my God. But I asked John Roswell, because I had the opportunity to meet him, because there was a little meet and greet area at a Soo Greyhound game, because it was one of the last games at the Gardens. Or one of the last, it was opening that season of the last season at the Gardens is what it was. Something like that. And I asked John Roswell, I said, hey, when we play hockey, I said, there's offside that usually occurs because the players don't want to jump the boards. Players like to go out the boards, and it causes offside. And he's like, here's my email. And we exchanged emails. He's like, if I don't email you, you email me, and we'll see if we can put that in the construction plans at the Memorial Gardens. It wasn't called now it's called the Gardens, but at the time they were calling it the Steelback Center, right? So I sent him an email 2 days later. Remember, my dad asked if I emailed him, so I emailed him, and about a day or two later, I got approval from the guy who approved the project manager. I know his name. I'm not going to say it because he's known in the Sioux. And he said, John Roswell forwarded that email to that person and verified that will get done. So I always say, when I see the blue lines and the way the neutral zone is set up, that I had to say with doing the neutral zone. And I don't care what anyone says. If I can get back to my hockey_0002 email at hotmail.com, I want to try to find that, because I've been trying to get back into it and I can't. I don't remember the password if I tried. I got to call Hotmail support. Look, one day if I can get that, I'll share it, but I thought that'd be a good story to share. So this is my point, though. One thing I wish I would have said more, maybe been of more voice. I don't think it would have really worked anyways. I think the ice was my limit of recommendations. But I think that they could have done more with that rink at the Gardens. I think they could have added more seating. They could have made it a bit more friendly up top, put some more seating at the top, maybe a bit different layout for the suites, and make the rink a bit bigger. Not just for Memorial Cup bids, but for big event bids, concerts, more curling championships. Sorry, I'm really thinking of Brad Jacobs right now. Just opportunities to make that rink more appealing for bigger events. We've had big names here in the Sioux, Elton John, Frigg. We've had Brad Paisley 10 times. I've emceed that concert 2 times. Okay. I wish there was a bigger rink. And I think that has a little bit of an effect because of the amount of seating that it does have. And I just think the overall layout of the rink could have been built different. But I will say it is a gorgeous rink on the inside. I think it's nice. There's nothing wrong with aesthetics or looks. I just think the size and the layout could have been definitely constructed bigger. And the last thing that I'll say about it is location. I kind of wish they would have, if it's in that same location, I wish it was where the mall is. It took up that to allow, and the mall would have been gone. But at the time, the mall was booming at the time, right? So maybe that's far-fetched because now we're going back in time and what if, could have. But I think there's opportunity. And we talked about down on Black Road. At that time when they built it, that was wide open, right? And you're still near hotels and near events. You're centralized. So I think location does have a part of it. But the location's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but I think there could have been a different opportunity to relocate the rink and have a better layout. Those are the 2 long-winded answers I have about the improvement in the rinks, but I still think they should, will, and can win a bid because they have the roster, they will have the roster, and it's still a very beautiful rink. And we're Sault Ste. Marie. We have a lot of legends that played here. There's a lot of thing to turn to the history of Sault Ste. Marie, and it's time that the Soo gets a Memorial Cup, though. Never mind this improvement that I said we need to have. The Soo needs a Memorial Cup, and it's time you give it to us.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm ranking the selling points of the Soo, like, yeah, I would probably rank the facility at around a C, right? And it's mostly because of what you described. It's hard. It's difficult to sell your facility if you're under 5,000 seating capacity.
Boom, key point.
5,000 is like that benchmark, right? Like 5,000 seating. If you're above it, like, you're kind of in the clear. We've seen a lot of like past really recent Memorial Cup hosts have 5,500 seating or 5,400 seating. Yeah. Like, you know, like, so it's they want to go back to smaller markets, which really appeals to the Greyhounds as well. Like, I know the Kamloops host in 2023, there's the Sandman Center, their ranks at 5,465. So, and that's seating, right? Like, we can add standing, you know, it's just, it's just sits under the 5,000 seating capacity. So I think there's no wiggle room. You can't add additional seats in there. No. So yeah, that's like, it's the facilities and then the shopping and tourism that is, here's
the thing.
It would need, like, they would need to work on that part of the proposal, I think, a little bit, like, because your accommodations are great and the Greyhounds legacy, like you mentioned, is great.
Yep.
There's no doubt that they would get, you know, support from like guys from the NHL, former Soo Greyhounds, like Gretzky, Bob Probert, Paul Coffey, like, you can name off a ton of like NHL legends, and also like for the younger generation, right? Jared McCann, Michael Bunting, Rasmus Sandin, Morgan Frost, Barrett Hayton. Like, there would be support from
so many
sellers and NHL coaches and professional people in professional hockey. But like, yeah, it's just those two kind of things, right? How can it support the community, or how can the community support the event outside of hockey?
So let me say the Sleeman Center sits 4,715.
Right.
Register for GFL is 4,928. So we're talking seating. The Hounds better have the edge on that Sleeman Center in Guelph. That's what I got to say. It's not like you're going against a brand new rink in London, which I know for bias purposes, I'll say it would win if they had a bid and had a new rink. But the GFL is just under 5,000. And I think it's time that this city gets what it's deserved, and that's a Memorial Cup.
And you're gonna sell out every game.
Every game.
Like, that place would be sold out. And they could even do like a screen in the parking lot to sit more people.
You can improve the downtown still by then. It's only a couple years. You can make some changes, make it a more community hub, make it more modernized.
Yeah, it would be huge for the community, and there's no doubt that the community would support it 100%. It's 100%. Just, we got to get it here.
Yeah. And honestly, look, I know we won't have time to dive into other OHL news. We really went into the Soo Greyhounds, but I will say, obviously, we had some more NCAA commitments in the OHL. Zach Flick and Gavin Bryant, one from Sarnia and the other one from Peterborough, having commitments to the NCAA. As that continues, there's been on the OHL website, chl.ca, there's a 2025 draft profile that you can check out. There's a pretty good video, and it's about Braden Bennett's the recent one. I like looking at the rookies that are coming up in terms of the 2025 draft. I think the OHL does a very good job at recognizing those. And player of the week, I always butcher his name, but for the Spirit, the rookie of the week, Dimian Zelkin. I probably pronounced his name incorrectly, but rookie of the week and goaltender of the week is the Knights goaltender, Austin Elliott. Of course, the headlining is the London Knights. And kudos here from the Spitfires, Ethan Belchatz and True Hockey donate $25,000 worth of hockey equipment to Nobby's kids in the community there. That's great to see. So overall, last recap, power rankings due to the week of January the 27th. Look, you got jumping up 4 spots this week. You got Kitchener. In second, you got for number 3, you got the Windsor Spitfires. Of course, some notable names, but number 1, you have the Kitchener Rangers. Number 2, you have the London Knights that are at number 2. And as I pull up the rankings, number 3, Windsor, number 4, Barrie, and number 5, the Bulldogs are your top 5 as Oshawa falls out of that 3 spots into 6th.
Yeah, they lost. They lost to Guelph yesterday or on Sunday, big time. So that was kind of an upset.
They did, and the Hounds are 14th.
Yeah,
Hounds are 14th in the power ranking, people. Okay, just to give. Okay,
they didn't have a good road trip last week, and they beat them too. Like they've had a good run.
They have. So there's a little
for the London game. The OHL draft, there actually is some notable, or one notable name worth saying. The top 10 pick, Brock Chitteroni, is projected to go in the top 10. He's from Sault Ste. Marie. Playing for the Barrie Junior Colts right now. And so he's kind of ranked in the top 10 there. And apparently the top 2 picks, Maxim Delisle from the Toronto Titans and Charlie Murata from the Don Mills Flyers, 2 centermen, apparently they are supposed to be very, very, very elite. So supposed to be a strong draft class. So
the Hounds at the right time, getting that pick. Good time to get a good pick. So there's a little bit of OHL news because we did say that. Now the last thing, Trudes, because we are a little bit over time, because we want to make this as a stir, a little taste before we sign off Chuck-a-Puck. Listeners and viewers, hear us out. I'm going to say it. Trudes is going to top it off, and then I'm going to sign us off. Lake Superior State University Lakers. Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Yearly matchup. Chuck-a-Puck Bowl.
Yes, preseason.
Border battle.
Center, one at the GFL. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. And if there's a third game, you don't have to do it. Like, you could flip a coin if you want to decide that. Flip a coin each year, gets the home game on the third game if you want.
Yeah.
But either way, I want to see some now that you have this NCAA commitment. Yes. I want to see the combined leagues. I know the age difference is there. I know the experience is there. And believe it or not, NCAA players would probably have the favorites on that. Of course, they should. I'm not going to lie to you, just from knowing NCAA hockey. But Hounds, LSSU. Of course, LSSU has a history. They have a good storied history. A lot of good players have come out of there. The Hounds, it would just create, and you can donate, do it for a charity. You can do it for whatever you need between both leagues. It creates a partnership. We are in a unique spot because we're border town with an NCAA team. There's something we can do, and I think we're on to something, Trudes. The Soo Greyhounds against LSSU preseason. Get it going. Start it when you win the Memorial Cup or win the Memorial Cup bid. Get that season started off with a bang. I don't care. Chuck-a-Puck Bowl, border battle. That's an NOJHL reference. If you know, you know. Nonetheless, LSSU versus the Hounds. Let us know what you think about that. Trudes, I want to say thank you to you for your time as always. It's okay that we went extra this week because you know what? We have no In the Pocket this week. All we're talking about mostly is pure hockey. I'm going to wrap up the show in a few minutes in my own segment, but we have devoted this full show basically to hockey for within this hour, and we are still within our hour of recording. So Trudes, thank you for taking the time, my friend. We'll be back here next week.
We'll be back next week. Go Hounds, go.
Go Hounds, go. Get out there, and obviously, again, kudos to the OHL all in all. Some good news this week. I like seeing the community involvement, but let me tell you, Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, and a message to Brian Crawford, okay, as I have his name on the puck here, on the Chuck-a-Puck official. 2027, the Sioux's expecting to hear 3 things. Sault Ste. Marie, come out of your mouth for that Memorial Cup. Just say it. Leaving it there. We'll be right back here on the Game Sports Podcast. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. Your host, David McCaig, continuing to host you this evening. We're in the final segment of the game. Now, there's no title to this segment. We have titles for all the segments that we do. Our longest segment is In the Pocket. Normally, In the Pocket is in this slot. But as I mentioned last week, we are taking a break, a vacation, if you will, this week from In the Pocket. It's kind of our Pro Bowl week, let's call it. And Justin and I are not participating in the Pro Bowl. But there's obviously a Super Bowl preview show that we'll have next week, and obviously a post-Super Bowl show to end our In the Pocket segment for the season 8. 2 more segments to go for that. But I will be bringing forward a few topics here within a handful of minutes. I'm going to be talking about WWE, and I'm also going to be doing a little brief mention about football, just as a little brief reaction to the games that transpired this weekend. But I want to start first with the WWE, and you probably wonder, WWE, very unique topic that we talk about on the show, really sporadic, that we've brought back to the show. But this weekend coming up is a very exciting weekend for the WWE, and a lot of people love watching a lot of main events when it comes to the WWE, WrestleMania, but everyone loves watching the Royal Rumble. And the Royal Rumble this weekend, there's a lot of storylines that can take place, okay? And there's been a lot of buildup, and with the WWE's movement to Netflix, there's been a lot of buy-in and bring back from the Attitude Era watchers. Prior to that, they're really starting to get back. Obviously, I still think the matches are more entertaining from the past, but they have definitely started to pick up and be a bit more entertaining as of now, but also the storylines are great because you have so much history that you can work on. And going into the Royal Rumble, I want to give you 3 predictions. One, about the WWE Undisputed Championship between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. And I want to give you my prediction about the Women's Royal Rumble, and I want to give you my prediction about the Men's Royal Rumble. So going first, obviously the matches that are going there, I'm going to say first, there's obviously going to be a lot going on to check into, but the Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, that whole feud, there is a lot happening, okay? And you can have the tag team titles could change. The WWE Championship match can change. It's a ladder match. The Sweet Chin music from Shawn Michaels this past week was just epic to see. But that match between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens has been a match really built up. And right now, given how I feel with Kevin Owens, I know co-host of the show, Alex Parr, believes this as well. I believe Kevin Owens definitely deserves to have the championship. He's been great. This heel turn has been great. He's a great wrestler. But overall, he's been so good as the heel. A lot of times I've seen the disgruntled guy. But because he is, at this certain point in time in the WWE with The Rock, with everything with The Rock being mysterious, John Cena coming back, not saying there's any connection with winning a title, but Cody is not losing this match. It's going to be entertaining. There might be some interference here. There might be a little bit of distraction, but there's no way that Cody Rhodes loses this title. And if he does lose, it's not going to be until Mania or even after that. Because of everything lining up for the storylines. Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes walks away with the title. The Women's Royal Rumble prediction. Look, Charlotte Flair is going to be coming out, and Charlotte Flair is going to be winning. Okay, the Charlotte Flair era is going to be getting back into it. The women's wrestling has been great with Liv, with Rhea Ripley. There's been a lot to watch. And overall entertainment, they've been doing great wrestling as well. I feel like the women's wrestling has been great athleticism, and overall just very entertaining, sometimes more entertaining than the males, and the males sometimes more entertaining than the women. I think it's really balanced between the two, and I think this Rumble is going to be great, but I have Charlotte Flair getting the W there. Good little rhyme for you. The Men's Royal Rumble, look, we've had some back-to-back winners, that being Cody Rhodes. Obviously, you've had Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels win back-to-back. Heck, Vince McMahon won in 1999, which is absolutely unreal. For some reason, I do remember that. The one that I remember the most is 2000 with The Rock, 2001 with Steve Austin as well, 2002 with Triple H. Great ones back in the day. But the first ever Royal Rumble winner for males, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And for women's, Suka was the women's Royal Rumble winner. But I said Charlotte Flair would be getting the win with the women's. The men's, there's so many options. You could think, will The Rock return? Will John Cena win? Is this CM Punk's time? Because CM Punk has been absolutely lights out when it comes to acting. And I know a lot of people think that CM Punk is going to win it this year, but I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to be very boring, and it might sound like a boring storyline, but I think there's so much you can build on with it because of maybe Owens, because of The Rock, because of maybe the bloodline, perhaps CM Punk and Paul Heyman. There's a lot of storylines you can look at leading up to Mania to make it a bit more entertaining, but I'm going to say Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble. So you got Cody Rhodes retaining, you got Flair winning the women's, and you got Roman Reigns winning the men's Rumble. Those are the predictions for this Royal Rumble this year. The other matches, let us know what you think of them, but overall, I want to hear what you say about those 3 matches. And like I said just a few moments ago, Love what the men's wrestling is doing. I love what the women's wrestling is doing. It's great TV. Netflix move is great. I love to see what Triple H and the whole WWE team is doing. I'm going to love to see what they're cooking. The Rock or John Cena, the McIntyre story. Where's that going to fall? So many things can happen, and I am bought in, and the entertainment has been great watching for television. So again, Rhodes retains Charlotte Flair for women's and Roman Reigns winning the men's Royal Rumble. Let us know your thoughts for those. Quick point about football. I want to say that obviously I don't want to dive into In the Pocket. It doesn't feel right without Justin N or EJ here. But Eagles game this weekend was so boring to watch. I would have loved to see the Lions in that game. Would have been a lot more entertaining. Would have been a closer game. Heck, I think the Lions would have beat the Eagles, no matter that they lost to the Commanders. I think that week off kind of hurt the momentum of the Lions, unfortunately, just given, and they've had a lot to deal with this year. The Lions would have made that a lot more of an exciting game. What a brutal performance by, I feel, Washington, despite being a great Cinderella story. The Philadelphia Eagles just looking great. Barkley looking great. But the game that people are still talking about is the Bills in Kansas City. And look, people are sick of seeing the Kansas City Chiefs move on. Okay. And there was a lot of calls in that game that I saw more than I've seen before. First down, miss, but overall, but I'm not going to dive into the analysis of that. I think that there's a lot of missed calls by the refereeing in this game that led in Kansas City's favor. I think Buffalo shouldn't have went for those 2-point attempts each time. I think kicking a field goal would have changed the complexity of the game, or just the overall momentum of the game. Would have just changed that possession. The would have, could have, should have. The what would have done in that moment would have just changed the course of the future for that moment, right? I feel like they took those 2-point attempts to try to get closer into field goal range. For field goal point differential, being down by 3 instead of being down by 4, but they weren't successful, especially at those moments. I think the Bills should have kicked the ball, would have changed the whole layout of the game. But my biggest beef for this is I actually saw, and I know a lot of it's been for the referee and the Bills, and there's been annoyance seeing a team go for 3 people. There's 2 things to take away for this. One, yes, there's calls missed in that game. And it did kind of go both ways, but it's definitely more in the Chiefs' favor on the calls. And it's really unfortunate because I think it's a turning point in the Bills season. The second thing is though, we're going to see something that we might see something that has never been done before. And that is a three-peat. That is history in sports that people will talk about forever. Despite who's on the centerpiece of it, if it's Mahomes, if it's Kelsey, and heck, even Taylor Swift, it doesn't matter. This is still must-watch football between these 2 teams. It's unfortunate that Jason's not in this game for the Eagles. It would have been great to see another brother matchup. It would have been a great little storyline again. But the Eagles are going to put up a fight in this game, so it's going to be very interesting. But I'm not going to get into the preview. I'm here to give a reaction about these 2 games that have happened. We'll save the preview for next week on In the Pocket. But I couldn't go a show without giving a little bit of point out for football, but a little bit of a special point out when it comes to noticing that I think the Bills had an unfortunate loss, to say the least, to their season. But if you're a Bills fan, don't give up. And if you're a Lions fan, don't give up, because I still think your window is there. That's going to wrap it up for the Game Sports Podcast this week. On behalf of the game and everyone who's a part of the game, including yourself, the viewer listeners, we appreciate that, but also those who are part of the game staff, that being Brendan McCarthy, Jordan Trudeau, and everyone in the background. We appreciate all of what they do every show and joining me on that. And as a listener and viewer, I want to encourage you to hit like, follow, and subscribe on whatever platform that you tune in on, including 91 Network or Spaces, which is through Soo Today and Village Media. The Game Sports Podcast has been around technically since 2015, but official name change January 2016. And for these years, we have brought forward local, regional, and national sports content to you, and we are happy to continue to do that for you here on the game. And we want you to be a part of the action, so please don't hesitate to follow and be a part of that by commenting below on everything that we talked about or anything that you want to talk about in our comment section for the world of sports, or heck, be brave. Come on and talk to us about what you want to talk about. The Game Sports Podcast, again, is powered by 91 Network, presented on Spaces to Village Media and Soo today. When it comes to overall social media, you can check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and on Facebook. For audio platforms on podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. We will be back next week where we'll have a very similar layout that will actually have an official in the pocket segment for you with that. Until next week, I'm here to remind you to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.